Hi, I'm Tanja. Welcome to the class today, and we are focusing on 3 best movements for a hip replacement. So if you recently had a hip replacement, maybe the physio has given you some movements, you might even recognize some of these. But if you're looking for some additional exercises to help you with your recovery, then today's class is just for you. So we're going to be focusing on strengthening all these supporting muscles that help keep your femur bones in the right position. So if you find the video useful, please like and subscribe to the channel, because it helps us to get our video out to more people who may be looking for this topic. So thank you very much, and let's get started. Today I just have a little cushion, so maybe a little towel or something that you can pop under your head, or nothing. But we're going to be starting on the back. So just coming into what's called semi-supine. Don't overthink it. I will have a cushion on your back, legs bent, feet flat on floor, as my husband will say. So the first thing I want you to do is just pay attention to your alignment of your spine as you come to this position. So when you're on your back, notice if your chin is going up towards the ceiling. And can you drop the chin to the throat a little bit? It's quite common for people to throw the head back, so we just want to drop that chin down. It's going to help stretch off the back of the neck. The shoulders are nice and relaxed, and then when you move down the spine, there'll be a little bit of a curve there. That's your natural curve in the spine, okay? So that's called a neutral spine. So what we don't want is a huge arch, and at the same time, we don't want that lower back being pushed into the floor. That's in a different position. So it's kind of finding that balance between the top and the bottom. So if you bring your awareness to the space just above your coccyx, and let's say underneath the elastic band of the trousers, there's a really hard part of the pelvis there. So your weight kind of wants to be around that position. So what you might notice is that your 2 hip bones and your pubic bone, you can put a tray of drinks there and it would be straight. Okay, so I like to think of a glass of Prosecco. Nobody wants to waste any of that. So this will be nice and straight. So we're not tilted and we're not the other way around. So that's called a neutral pelvis. So that's going to be the starting position, and then your knees are in line with these 2 hip bones at the front of the pelvis, the hips, and then your feet are just somewhere in between there. Don't overthink that again. Just have them. One note is if your legs are quite far, you're going to be engaged in the back of the legs just a little bit more. So if you find that you start cramping in the back of the legs, just bring your heels a bit closer. So we're going to start with just a little baby movement first to introduce the breath with this. So take a deep breath in. And all I want you to do is just have the longest breath out that you can. So imagine like you're trying to blow up a balloon. You know those really hard balloons. So as you exhale, just pay attention what happens around your abdominals, your tummy. You can even put your hands there if you want to. So you might notice that last quarter of that exhale, everything pulls in around your tummy. So just take another breath in, just do that one more time. And again, as you exhale, just notice how everything starts to pull in towards the spine. Okay, so this is when your core, or these abdominal muscles, engage. You might even feel your pelvic floor lift a little bit as well. Now, on the next one, take another breath in. And as you exhale, this time we're going to draw that belly button down towards the floor. So we're going to be imprinting the lower back. So think of trying to use the term push your spine into the floor. But I want that push to come from your abdominal muscles, not the back of your legs. So I want you to just fondle the back of your legs for a moment. And notice, does it feel like the effort is coming from here? If it doesn't feel like anything's going on here, then you're probably using the back of your legs to push. So I want you to have this pulling sensation. And then just release your hips back to the start again, back into your neutral position. So I like to have my hands on your hips. It's your body, you're allowed to touch it. So breath in. As you exhale, hug the tummy towards the spine and then towards the floor, so your hips are rolling towards the rib cage. Think of the abdominals doing the work. Fondle the back of your legs and your bum cheeks, make sure they're nice and soft. Your shoulders are relaxed, hold that position there. Now the only way you can breathe in is to try and expand the upper rib cage, which is called lateral thoracic breathing, so that we can keep this tummy pulled in. And then see if you can bring your sternum closer towards your belly button and your pubic bone closer towards your belly button. So really try to hug in your tummy. And then release back to the starting position. Now we're going to go into the full movement. So breath in. As you breathe out, you hug your tummy in, send your lower back down towards the floor. Once you are imprinting, now you're going to squeeze your bum cheeks. Squeeze it out towards the ceiling as much as you can go, but no weight in your neck or your head. So I know in yoga they tend to put that weight right in the top, but I want you to really be cautious of that weight in your neck or your head. So for me, I can move my head, it's quite free, there's no weight in there. So at the bottom of the neck, there's a bigger bone, which is at the top of the spine, bottom of the neck. I don't know what it's called, biggie bone. And you don't want to go past that biggie bone. That's my scientific explanation of that. Now, once you're at the top, just feel how it feels in the side that you've had a hip replacement, or even for those of you that have had sciatica before or something like that, just notice how the sides compare to each other. Breathe in. Now I want you to have this idea that we're pushing the hips up, but at the same time you're now trying to bring your spine down. So you might feel a little bit of pulling across the knee, maybe it's a little bit stiff in the lower back. I want you to try and get your full spine down before the elastic band of your trousers. And then we come back to the starting position. So don't worry if you can't do that. Often the back can be so stiff that you come down in quite big chunks. So don't worry if you can't. What I want you to do is just try. You're still innervating the muscles. So let's do a couple more. Breath in. On the exhale, roll your hips towards the ribcage. Imprint your back without using the glutes first, or bum cheeks. Once you've engaged into the floor, then squeeze your bums. And see if you can lift your spine one vertebra at a time. So be mindful, I'm going to exaggerate this. There's another movement called a bridge where you lift up in one go. This is not that. We really want to tilt the hips first and pull each of the vertebra up on its own. Good stretch in the back as well. So now when you get to the top again, making sure there's no weight in your neck or your head, I want you to be mindful of your two hip bones. So I know sometimes there's boobs and bellies in the way, but is one hip dropping? I'm going to exaggerate it slightly so you can see. So sometimes you'll have a weakness on the side that you may have had your hip replacement on. So what I want you to do is really try and squeeze the bum to get your hips into the same alignment. Now sometimes, depending on the kind of hip replacement, you might have a slight difference because of how they've put the bones in and done the reconstruction. Once you're at the top, again, keep squeezing. I want you to imagine you want your pubic bone to touch the ceiling, and at the same time you're bringing your spine down. Once you're at the bottom, just holding it there. So now we're going to add on a little bit here. So breath in. On the exhale, roll your hips towards the rib cage, squeeze your bum, send it up towards the ceiling. Now have your hands here. What you're going to try and feel is if your hips are wobbling left and right. So what I want you to do is open your knees and then bring it back in again. So your feet stay flat on the floor, so we're not going to be rolling off of those ankles. So just open as wide as you can without rolling off of your feet. So make sure your big toe is still firm on the floor, and then pull it back in. So what you're trying to feel, again, I'll exaggerate, is something like this happening. So we want to open the knees, and you can feel your bums. It's always good to feel how the muscles are working, and pull it back in. Open the knees and pull it back in. That was my tummy, did you hear that? And then we're going to do one more, pull it back in, and now keep squeezing your bums as you bring your spine down, imprinting the lower back first, and then release. Well done. So just bring the knees into your hands. So especially if your hip replacement is quite new, you don't want to be pulling your knees all the way to your chest. So just keep the knees above the hip and just give your back a little massage there. So we're going to do a similar movement. I'm going to be holding it at the top. I'm doing some weight shifting. So again, this movement is really, really tiny, but don't be fooled because it's very effective. So again, we're going to come back up into that position that we were just in. So get yourself into the right position. Breath in. On the exhale, tilt the pelvis. And now send your hips up towards the ceiling. So again, hands on the hips. Now what I want you to do is we're going to do weight shifting. So I want you to imagine that I don't want to see anything happen in your body. So as you send your weight into your left leg, the whole left side has to hold the right side up. So I could almost slide a piece of paper underneath that right foot. So often what happens when we do weight shifting, we put the weight into the left and then the right drops down. So even though you're putting the weight into your left, you still have to squeeze this right side to keep the hip up. It's just that there's no weight in the foot. So we're not going to, it's actually harder to keep the foot touching the floor than it is to lift the foot. Okay? So you can feel, I can feel my shoulders are also trying to work there. I'm by no means perfect. So your left side is kicking in, the right side is light, but you're still trying to activate this bum on your right hand side. And then put the weight back into both your feet and roll yourself down, imprinting the lower back, and then release. So we're just going to do one more on the other side. So breath in. Roll the hips towards the rib cage, squeeze your bum, send it up towards the ceiling, and hold it there. Now you're going to put the weight into your right leg, so get your right bum really active. Feel how the weight goes into the foot, the calf, back of the leg and the bum. And then as you do that, the left side's just going to soften and soften. But does it feel like the left hip has just dropped down? So we want to be pushing that left hip up, still activating the bums, but it's the right leg that's just holding the weight of the body. So just check, just because I'm a teacher doesn't mean I'm perfect, so just notice my shoulders also get a little tense. So be mindful of what you feel in the rest of your body. This is Pilates. Can you control everything that's going on? So even though our focus is this, have your shoulders just hunched up. Is there any weight in your neck, or have you kept it across those shoulders? And then come back into the center and then roll yourself down. Good. And then again, just lifting the knees into the hand and give yourself a little rock, a little bum massage. So we're going to come into the side lying position. Now I know this is not everyone's favourite movement, but I love it, so I'm going to share it with you. So this is for oyster or a clam. If you have those loop bands, you can always put one over your legs because it's going to make you work harder. And there's different positions that you can be in. So you can either be up, like I am right now, which is beneficial in terms of stretching off the muscles here, engaging the muscles there. Or you can even be lying down so that you're in a straight line. So entirely up to you which position you want to be in. I like to be in this just because my neck doesn't always like it. So your top hip is above the bottom hip. Now you can also put cushions there if there's any pain. But we're going to be focusing, so let's say your hip replacement was the left side, then obviously you're going to lie on the right side. We always recommend to do stuff both sides, but if you've got one that's particularly weak, then do more on that side. So your top hip is above the bottom one. You're drawing in the tummy, so we're trying not to just sag into the waist here, and I like to have the top hand on the hip bone. And just start to give your feet a little squeeze together. so you can feel your inner thighs working. And now take that top knee towards the ceiling and then bring it back down again. Now what I want you to notice is have you just flonked the leg up and down. So I like to give those feet a little squeeze because it just gets the muscles a little bit more tense in the leg. And then as you take it up, you're trying to find the point where your hip wants to move. So if you just have a hip done, you'll probably find there's a lot of movement in the pelvis because it can be quite stiff in the hip. So don't worry too much about that. There's cement there, unless you're going to loosen the cement. And then bring it back down. So taking the leg up. Now what we're doing here is we're engaging these bum cheeks, which help pull the bone into that hip socket. So when you get to the top, I now want you to squeeze your bum. Again, use your hands. Feel how these muscles are working. And then release it back down again. So breath in, tummy draws in. Allow the leg to come up. Just give those feet a little squeeze together. When you're at the top, can you give your bum a little bit more of a squeeze and your thighs? And then release down. We're going to do one more. So if you're doing this properly, you shouldn't be able to do 600, maybe 4. I'm already shaking. So just feel. You can feel right into the upper parts of the bums over there. So all these muscles around here help to keep that thigh bone in place. And then release. Good. So if you can give it a little rub. And then we'll come over to the other side. So now you can even lie on a bed if you need to lie on the side that you've just had done and it hurts. You can always lie on the bed as well. So everyone has an imbalance. Don't worry if you get one side. I find sometimes one side's really wobbly and the other side's quite stable. Completely normal to have these imbalances. So just checking top hip is above the bottom. We've got a little bit of space there so that we're not letting this hip roll towards that rib cage. And again, top hand is on the floor. So just start to give your feet a little squeeze. And then taking that knee up. So you can see this knee can go further than the other one, but I also feel like it's not as stable. And then bring it back down again. So give the feet a little squeeze, take the knee up, squeeze your bum, squeeze your legs. Tummy is drawing in and we're still lengthening, bring it back down. So you might notice that one side can move quite a lot and the other side's really stiff. Don't be put off by it. We all don't think there's anybody in the world that's 100% equal on both sides. All our daily habits affect how the body moves. Good, so we're just going to do one more. And then take it back up. When you get it up, try not to let this hip roll back. We want to keep those hips stuck and then squeeze as you try and lift a little higher. Oh, and then bring it down. Oh, well done. Good. So you're going to bring yourself into a seated position. Any position that's comfortable for you. It's the end of the class. Well done. So again, if you enjoyed that and you can feel your bums working, please subscribe to the channel. As I say, it just helps to get our name out there. And feel free to comment. So take care and I'll see you in another video soon.